I recently posted a video of the SOG Seal Pup Elite out doing some field testing with a late Boy Scout, and a lot of the comments I got back was, well, what about the SOG Seal Pup Elite versus the SOG Northwest Ranger? So let's go ahead and take a look at these. We'll look at some of the similarities, we'll look at some of the differences, what one is built for versus the other, and if you twisted my arm, which one would I pick if I could only pick just one? Let's start off by looking at some of the similarities between these two knives, and there are quite a bit. First off, blade steel on these. Both the Northwest Ranger 2.0 here and the Seal Pup Elite on top are AUS 8 steel with a hardness of 57 to 58 on the Rockwell scale. Blade length on the Northwest Ranger is 5.2 inches and the Seal Pup is 4.8, 4.9 inches. So you can see the, there you go. You can see the SOG Northwest Ranger is just a hair longer as far as the blade length goes. And as such, you can look at the overall length, and the Ranger, I'll call it for ease of repeat, is just a hair longer than the Seal Pup Elite. Weight on these, this is 6.2 ounces, 5.4 ounces, so pretty much the same or fairly close. And I think that's about the similarities. Now let's break it down and start looking at the differences between these two knives. Now, the Northwest Ranger is definitely more built for a survival, bushcraft, outdoorsy type of use, whereas the Seal Pup Elite, this is more tactical implementation. The blade shape on these, you've got a clip point and a clip point, but you've also got a hollow ground versus your flat ground. So depending on what you're after there, maybe you prefer the flat ground over the hollow or vice versa. That gives you some answers. One thing to note on these though, they're both clip points, but they're not the same. So if you look at them real close, you can see the SOG Seal Pup Elite on the right hand side here. See how it raises up and then drops on that clip point? That's going to bring your tip a little bit higher in comparison to the handle than the Ranger. What that's going to do, if you look at it real close, you've got a tip that's going to be better for piercing, and you've got more of a belly that's going to be better for slash cuts as well. So you can imagine using the blade and coming slashing in any type of movement, you're going to have a better overall geometry on the edge here due to where that clip point sits up a little bit higher than the Ranger. Now, will this work just as fine in a tactical implementation? I mean, if you had to use it in a self-defense, heaven forbid. But yeah, it would. But if you're going to try to maximize that usage, definitely go with this blade here. If you look at the thicknesses of the blade, the Seal Pup Elite is just a hair thicker. It's a little bit hard to tell here, but it really shows up on the back end of the blade here, and it's a little deceiving because of the swedge on the Seal Pup versus the just flat ground on the Ranger. But this one is just a hair thicker overall than the Northwest Ranger. Ergos on both these blades are actually pretty good. They are different, and you can see again with the thumb ramp on this one here, it's a little more built for that tactical implementation versus wilderness use. So that doesn't quite have that. You do have the ramp underneath, same thing here, and the overall handle, they both feel well. However, they are quite different only in material. If you look at the designs, the patterns on there, you got kind of a diamond checkered pattern going on both of those. And then on the back, you've got the line pattern going on. So similar there. However, the Northwest Ranger is a craton handle, where the Seal Pup is a GRN or glass reinforced nylon. So you may have a preference one or over the other. The difference I can tell you without feeling them, for you guys just watching this is more of a rubbery feel type, and it actually locks in pretty good. Where this glass reinforced nylon is a little more, I wouldn't call it slick, because it's actually got some pretty good traction with this, but it's a lot harder. It's more of a hard plastic as it is a rubber type feel. So that's kind of the difference on those. This one certainly locks in the hand a lot better. There's better traction to it. That being said, the Seal Pup doesn't have bad traction, but I don't lock into it as good as this type of material. Now, out in the field, I would imagine this over the long run is going to hold up a little bit better just due to the hardness. Again, I've had both of these out and thumped on both these knives for quite some time now, and you can see that even the bottom one, the craton handle, is holding up pretty good. So, you know, maybe not something to be too terribly concerned about. Now, maybe if you're over in Afghanistan, I don't know, maybe this wouldn't hold up as good, but this handle would hold up better in the long run. Cost on these, the cost is interesting. I looked up in just one place online, one store online, and the cost for the Ranger is $69.95. Cost for the Seal Pup is $69.99. So 4 cents difference there. However, that 4 cents is getting you a lot. And what I mean by that is the sheaths. So let's go ahead and take a look at the sheaths. Here are the sheaths, the Ranger on the bottom. This is just a very simple leather sheath with a snap, and that's all you've got. So this sheath, honestly, I really don't like all that much. It doesn't float my boat. You can see it just got a belt loop there, and pretty basic, nothing too fancy about that. I think the leather sheath maybe goes along with the theme of this being more of an outdoorsy type of knife, whereas the Seal Pup, you're going to get a lot better sheath with this. This is a nylon sheath. You can see it's MOLLE compatible on the back. You've got the snap, but you've also got the Velcro with that strap that's holding in the knife. And you've also got a front pocket that you can use to store whatever, which out of all my knife sheaths that have these, I've never stored anything in them, but it is there. So this is a much better sheath option than the Ranger. So for virtually being the same price, I mean, the Seal Pup blows this thing out of the water as far as the sheaths go. If you're trying to decide between these two which one you should get, the first question I would ask is, what is your intended use? If the most of your time is going to be spent in the backcountry using it for bushcraft type activities, well, it's a no-brainer. I would go with the Ranger. If you want a more tactical knife, then obviously this is your choice. Now, if you were to twist my arm and say, okay, you can only buy one knife, which would it be? And that is an interesting question. You know, I think I would go with the Ranger and get a better sheath for it, which I did. I actually made my own Kydex, and that's the route I would go if I had to pick between each one. Reason being is because most of my time is going to be spent in the mountains or doing those type of activities, where this knife is going to lend itself better to an overall usage from my standpoint. Could I use it in a self-defense situation? Yes, absolutely. Now, what are the chances of me having to do that? Well, relatively slim, I would guess. This blade, however, maybe you just want a blade with a lot of character, something that stands out a little bit, you know, as far as from the bushcrafting type knives go, well, this would be the one to go with. And this one does do well in bushcrafting. I've used it quite a bit up in the mountains, and I don't have a lot of complaints about it. This one, the spine, you're going to be able to strike a ferrule rod much easier than the rasps up here, although you can do it right on this point. Will throw some pretty good sparks. Up here, not so much. So again, Had I only one to choose from, it would probably be the Northwest Ranger. That being said, man, I love having the ability to buy both and not have to make that decision. So this one will likely kind of, I don't know, I'm toying with putting it in my car. And actually, the longer I've had this knife, the more I enjoy it, the more I like it. The AUS 8 takes a wicked edge on it. Is it the best stuff out there? No. Have some had some bad experiences with it? Yes. But I can tell you right now, at least with SOG's AUS 8, out of these two knives that I own, I've beat on these things and they've held up very well with what I've put them through. So there it is, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. And just to put the signature knife drop on the end, we'll see you later.